quick disclaimer before we get into the nitty-gritty of things. I don't have a script, so all of these things that I'm going to say are most likely going to be very disjointed and disorganized because I am just saying them as they come to me. There's going to be a lot of ums and buts, but I am knowing me, even if I had a script, it would probably end up the same way. So yeah, I'll try my best to keep this as understandable and cohesive as I can, but we'll see about that. So I've been sitting on this video for 2 to 3 weeks now, and every time I've ever thought about releasing it or making it or whatever, I always come to the decision that like it just doesn't matter, because at the end of the day it's just an opinion-based thing, and people argue on about opinions all the time, and I just never really cared enough to put it on to get this out there, because like I don't know, I just want to have fun, play the game, whatever, and I don't want people to feel like I am like attacking them or whatever for having a differing opinion from them. However, with the rise in Chucky discussions in BBD lately, with YouTubers making videos on him and stuff like that, it's a topic that I see a lot more lately, in regards to Chucky and whether he's problematic for the game or not. And I wanted to weigh in because Chucky is my second killer main behind Ghostface. I am a P100 Chucky. I know, disgusting, right? And I know my word isn't going to mean anything to anyone, and that's okay. It's the internet. It's a hard place out here. But if anyone is willing to listen, I kind of just wanted to get my thoughts out, because I do find discussing this killer specifically to be very interesting, and I'll tell you why. But I do find it a very intriguing topic. For the longest time, I actually was very unaware to the fact that a lot of people seem to despise this killer as much as they do. I didn't notice it for the longest time. I was actually under the impression for like, a good portion of my gameplay as Chucky, just thinking that people actually liked him. And I started playing him heavily after the Scamper nerf, because I know the Scamper nerf was very much deserved, because the Scamper was kind of just it was very uninteractive, and as soon as they got rid of that and they like made him more about being up in your face with the slice and dices, that's when I was like, I think I'm gonna like this character. And I ended up liking him. I think he's the most fun to play as. He has a very funny personality. I love that he's just evil. He's comically evil. He flips survivors off. He's fun to play as. He's a little gremlin that runs around and shit, and has, tools that survivors have, like third-person camera and stuff like that, which I know people hate. I know people hate that he's short and has a third-person camera, and we'll get to that. But I think he's very fun to play as. I think he is the most fun killer to play as, and I know that's just a very subjective thing, but that's how I feel. But as I played him more, I started to notice that I get an immense amount of hate for just for the fact that I play this killer. I try my best to go out of my way to not tunnel, to not camp, to not slug, because I want to try to accommodate people as much as I can, because I know that all that stuff is something that makes people very upset. It doesn't for me, because I've played this game since the 3rd year anniversary, and like just at this point, that stuff is all normal to me, and it's not personal like a lot of people try to make it out to be. But that's a whole nother discussion. But 100% of the time, when someone like comes into my stream to hate on me, or they go to my Steam profile to leave a comment, it is always about the fact that I played Chucky. It's not about anything else I did in the match. It's just because of Chucky. The usual insults are that I have brain rot for playing him, I am brainless for playing him, he takes no skill, and I have no skill as a player for playing as him. Those are the general insults that I get when I do get insults for playing as him. And by no means am I trying to imply that Chucky takes the most skill, or he's the most mechanically, taxing killer in the game or whatever, and he's the hardest to learn or whatever like that, you know. But I think when people say that he takes no skill at all to play, or that he's just a killer for brain dead people, I feel like it's a bit demeaning. And whenever I hear people say that, I feel like it's just a coping mechanism to somehow imply that anything and everything I did to them to outplay them in a match is all solely from the killer that I played as. And I don't know. You know, I know people have their own opinions on that, but when I hear people say that, I just think it's them saying that my character choice invalidates anything I did in the match against them, and I don't know. I think it's a lazy excuse. And again, Chucky by no means is the most mechanically demanding character to play as or anything like that. He is most certainly on the easier side in terms of learning how to play as him, but there is a very clear difference between a casual Chucky player and an experienced one. And thankfully, I have noticed that there are a good portion of people who seem to acknowledge this. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff that you can do as Chucky. There's a lot of creativity you can have as him in terms of maneuvering your slice and dices around certain loops. I mean, I have seen people on Bad Am in the House of Pain start at the top of one side of the stairs and maneuver their entire slice and dice all the way down into the basement, around to the back corner behind the other set of stairs where the pallet is, and get a hit on a survivor. And it's just like, when I see Chucky players do stuff like that, and people tell me that he takes absolutely no skill at all to play as, I'm just like, then I must not understand what skill is then, I guess. I've put a few clips in this video of me playing as him, and by no means am I saying that I think I'm like awesome fucking gifted god tier at the game and never loses 4Ks every game. But I don't know, I just put these here because like I don't understand the idea that this killer is just like a big nothing burger in terms of like just people playing him, I guess. I think he takes more brain power than people like to give him credit for. And again, I'm not saying it's like, you know, he takes an immense amount of skill to play or anything like that, but I think he takes a little bit more than what people give him credit for, and that's what I've always kind of argued with him. I know people think he's very bullshit to go against. I know people don't like going against him. Most people anyway. There's actually a good portion of people that actually seem to like going against him. My take is, from what I've seen, that people think he gets free hits all the time, which I can kind of understand. And that's the reason why they don't like him and that he's problematic. And I feel like that more so boils down to positioning and situational kind of scenarios and stuff like that, because I mean, that's with every killer, you know. If you're in a bad spot, you're just going to get destroyed, and that's a very prominent thing with Chucky because of his ability to close the gap very quickly. But I can tell you, as a person who exclusively plays this killer, almost exclusively, actually I should say, I have been absolutely destroyed by teams who know how to hug corners very tightly, who know how to use the side of doorways to block, you know, the hitbox of my slice and dice, and just people who know how to maneuver themselves very well around corners, around objects and stuff like that. I know Chucky can hug tech a lot of crazy things and he gets hits that way. And I know sometimes that feels bullshit to people, and I can completely understand that, because sometimes I'll get hits even that I'm like, huh? But people seem to think that this killer is unbeatable. Or, sorry, I should say some people, because I know people will hear me just saying people and think I'm talking about everyone, and that's not the case. But some people think that, some people seem to think that this killer is unbeatable, and I don't know. It's just like, you know, when you hear a sentence like that, you think of like Nurse or something, like a character who bypasses any and all survivor defenses just by her power alone existing. And it's just like, I have been completely destroyed by squads who know how to maneuver themselves well and position themselves well against Chucky. People who know how to use doorways to the absolute fullest, people who know how to use corners and to hug the sides of jungle gyms correctly in a way that I cannot maneuver my slice and dice because of the curve limiter on it to hit them into the corner. There are ways to go against this killer, to counter him, to beat him, that I don't think, and like I don't want to be this guy, because like I don't want to be the guy that's like, just get better at the game, GG easy, get better at the game, run from the killer, learn how to beat him, because I know there's more nuance to it than that. But I don't think, when I play against people a lot, because like I said, I get destroyed sometimes, but like other times most of the time I just go against people who just like run straight into like an open area. And I'm not saying like everybody plays like that, of course, and stuff like that, but I think there's a lot of people out there that don't really understand how to go against Chucky. And I think that's where a lot of this like frustration comes from, because like people just assume he's unbeatable because of, you know, the points that I made and stuff like that. But a lot of people I see don't really seem to like play against him correctly, and I don't like being that guy, but that's just what I noticed from playing as him. He's a character that gets demolished by people who are using jungle gyms the right way, who are using objects to the right way. Doorways, Chucky does not like doorways. But there are a lot of ways to beat this killer that I don't think people really bring up a lot, and they just like to say that he's uncounterable, uninteractive, and it's just, as a person who has played against Chucky's a lot, as I'm sure a lot of us are, I have done these things to a Chucky player too, and maybe that's just because I play as him a lot, so I kind of understand it and stuff like that, but there are certainly ways to counter this killer, and I don't know why it seems like a lot of people act like he is nurse level of strength, because he's literally not. Some people say that Chucky is problematic for the game, and like I guess I can see what they mean, because most of the time they're coming from the angle that he is too strong for how easy he is to pick up. And I can completely understand that angle, and I kind of agree with it to some extent. But when we compare him to killers like Nurse, you know, killers that literally have to be taken into account every time any new perk is made, because Nurse just... A perk that is bad on an M1 killer can be amazing on Nurse because she's Nurse. You know, like, you get what I mean? Like, they have to think about Nurse all the time when they change this game anytime. And I don't know if that's a hot take or whatever, but that's like what makes me think that Nurse is a problematic killer, because she is just so fundamentally stronger and different from the other killers that, like, I consider her problematic, because she needs to be taken into account every time they make any decision in terms of, like, killer perks, balance changes, stuff like that. I think she is a problematic killer. I don't think Chucky is. At least, for the most part, I don't think he is. But anyway, I just wanted to put a few clips up on screen and kind of give my thoughts about it. I know this was awfully, like, organized and stuff, but hey, I did warn you about that at the start. But yeah, I don't want people to feel like I'm calling them bad or anything by this video, because by no means am I doing that, because, I mean, come on. If any of you have seen my streams for 1 second, you know that sometimes I am probably actually the worst player in this game. I don't know, I just find the discussion around Chucky to be very interesting. I genuinely do. Like, I really do think it's interesting, and I would love to hear people's points and stuff like that, because I've been talking with people who disagree, who agree lately, and I always find it very interesting, and I like to think that I try to understand both sides of the coin as much as I can, and I respect your opinion if you don't like him, you know, and I think it's important that we could have civil discussions over something as silly as a killer doll in a video game without going at each other's necks for it, you know, because at the end of the day we should just be having fun and doing what we want to do and stuff like that. But I've noticed that people seem to, I mean, I guess it shouldn't be that crazy to me, because Dead by Daylight is kind of known for having a bit of a volatile community most of the time, but people seem to be very, very passionate about this discussion in particular, from what I've noticed. And I don't know. I find it interesting, and I guess I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts on it myself. I know that, again, to like summarize, I know that Chucky can be very, very frustrating to go against sometimes, because sometimes it does feel like he just like like he'll hit you once and then he'll down you in like 2 seconds because of his power and stuff like that. But he's not unbeatable by any means. It's just more of a matter of positioning and using objects, like the correct objects the most effective way. But again, I know a lot of that comes down to just specific situations and stuff like that, and you can't really change anything about that because it's Dead by Daylight. Like Bubba isn't considered a great killer or anything like that, but like if you're in a dead zone just doing a gen in a dead zone out in East Bumblefuck, then yeah, you're gonna get fucked up, of course, because there's nothing to use there. It's sort of a similar thing with Chucky. But yeah, my gripe with it has always been that I think I think Chucky takes a little bit more skill than people like to give him credit for. Sorry, not by much, but I think people are being a bit over exaggerative when they say that he's problematic or he's unbeatable or he takes no skill, because I think just from like the plays that I've done or seen other people play him, I've seen people just do some insanely creative things with this killer, and it's just I don't know. When I hear people say that this killer takes no skill, I just kind of go like, but that was crazy, or whatever. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's me being a salty little wiener about people saying I have no skill or whatever. But like, I don't know. I think it's an interesting discussion, but shit. I mean, I don't know. Fuck my ass, I guess. But yeah, that's all I have for this video, really. If anyone like were to ask me what I would think I would change about Chucky, because there is something I would change about him that I think is like slightly problematic, and that is rat poison. That is the only thing that I think really needs to be changed with him. Maybe they can make the base cooldown on his power longer, I guess. I don't think they should really mess with that anymore, because I don't know. They already took away Scamper and stuff like that, and they wanted to compensate for it by the lower cooldown. I think they just need to stop fucking with the base kit ability stuff, because it just seems like every time they nerf something, people, find something else to be annoyed about, and then they want that nerfed, and it just keeps going on, and it's like we'll eventually just get a more annoying Chucky to go against, probably. I don't know. That's a whole rabbit hole. But I would change rat poison. Rat poison effectively takes away all the guessing from Chucky, and I think that will make it a little bit better, a little bit more engaging for people to go against him, because rat poison is by far his best add-on. But yeah, that's, if they want to do more to Chucky, that's perfectly fine. But if I were to start at a place, I would start with nerfing rat poison. They should just take the aura reading off of it entirely, because I can fully admit rat poison puts him on an entirely different level. Like, rat poison actually probably makes him S tier, I'd say. Rat poison is crazy. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment down below, your thoughts, if you agree, if you don't agree, and let's just have a civil discussion about it, because in a world that's in a community that's devoid of a lot of empathy for each other, I think it's really important for us to have that for one another. So yeah, that's all I wanted to really say today, and yeah, I hope y'all have a good one. Take care.